The alien city was loud and cruel, filled with tall steel towers and narrow alleys where the poor struggled to survive. Neon signs flickered in broken colors, but down on the ground there was only darkness, smoke, and the stench of rotting garbage. In one of these alleys, an alien mother bent low, her thin hands digging through piles of trash. Her clothes were torn, her skin pale from hunger, and her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Beside her stood a small child, no older than 5. The child's stomach growled and his big round eyes blinked with tears. He held onto her arm weakly, whispering, "Mother, food." The sound was so soft, so fragile, it almost broke her heart. She forced a smile at him, though her lips trembled. "Just a little more," she said, pulling open a filthy container. Old bones, rotten fruit, and broken metal pieces spilled out. She picked quickly, searching for anything that could be eaten. But there was nothing. Above them, voices laughed. A pair of alien guards walked by, their armor shining. One pointed at the woman and child. "Look at her," he sneered. "Digging like a rat," the other chuckled. "Maybe she'll find a worm to share with her brat." They walked away, their laughter echoing. The mother lowered her head, her cheeks burning with shame. She wanted to scream, but she had no strength left. She had done this every day for months, digging, searching, hoping. And every day her child grew thinner. The trash heap was her prison. It was all she knew now. But tonight something was different. Not far away, a human man stood at the edge of the market street. His clothes were dusty from travel, his boots heavy from long journeys across alien lands. He carried a small pack on his shoulder. His face was lined with weariness, but his eyes were sharp, watching. He had seen beggars before, seen hunger in many worlds. But this mother, something in the way she clutched her child, something in the way she refused to give up even when mocked, caught his attention. The mother pulled out a crushed can and opened it, licking the inside for even the tiniest taste. The child's face lit up for a moment, but when he tried to lick too, he gagged. It was too bitter. He coughed, holding his stomach. The man felt his chest tighten. He had been hungry once, long ago. He knew the pain, the hollow ache, the fear that tomorrow would be worse. His hand gripped the strap of his bag. Inside he had bread, a few dried fruits, and water. Enough for himself, but not much more. He hesitated. Should he help? This was not his world, not his people. No one else cared. Why should he? But then the child swayed and nearly fell. The mother caught him just in time, hugging him close. Tears slid down her dirty cheeks. She whispered, "Stay with me, little one. Please stay." The human's decision was made. He stepped forward, his boots crunching on broken glass. The mother froze, sensing someone near. She turned, her body shielding the child. Her eyes, sharp and frightened, locked on the human. "What do you want?" she asked quickly. Her voice was weak but defensive. She was ready to fight for her child, even if she had nothing left. The man stopped a few steps away. He reached slowly into his pack and pulled out a piece of bread. Warm, soft bread. Its smell cut through the foul stench of the trash heap. The child's eyes widened. He clutched at his mother's arm. The woman trembled, staring at the food as if it were a dream. "Take it," the man said simply. His voice was calm, steady. The mother shook her head at first. "No, nothing is free. Tell me your price." "I ask nothing," he replied. "Your child needs food. Let him eat." She stared at him, unable to trust. No one had ever offered kindness here. Every coin, every scrap of food always came with cruelty or chains. Why would a human, an outsider, care for her? The bread smell reached the child and he whimpered, pulling at her sleeve. Her heart cracked. She looked at her boy, then back at the human. Finally, with shaking hands, she took the bread. She tore off a piece and placed it in the child's mouth. The boy chewed slowly, his eyes closing in relief. For the first time in weeks, he smiled faintly. The mother lowered her head, whispering, "Thank you." Her voice broke into a sob. The man watched silently. He said nothing more, but inside his chest felt heavy. The memory of another child, his own, flashed in his mind. The same hunger, the same tears from years ago. He had not been able to save her. Now, standing in this trash heap, he wondered if helping this alien child might ease that old wound. But the shadows around them stirred. From across the alley, more eyes watched, the kind of eyes that hated kindness, that thrived on cruelty. And the night was far from safe. The little boy's lips trembled as he chewed the bread. His eyes closed and a soft sigh escaped from him. For the first time in weeks, his stomach felt something more than emptiness. The alien mother held him close, her own tears dripping onto his thin cheeks. She had forgotten what it felt like to watch her child eat real food. The human man stood quietly, his arms crossed, his face unreadable. He didn't look for thanks. He only looked at the child, making sure he swallowed each bite slowly. He knew the danger of eating too quickly after long hunger, but the bread was small and the boy's hunger was large. When it was gone, the boy licked his fingers and looked up at his mother. His eyes said it all, more. The mother lowered her head. "I am sorry, my son." "There is no more." Her voice cracked. The boy clutched her hand. "Please, mother, please." The human's hand tightened on his pack. He still had fruit and water, enough for himself for 2 days, maybe 3 if he stretched it. But looking at the boy, shaking and thin as a stick, he knew he couldn't keep it to himself. He pulled out a dried fruit, reddish and sweet. The mother gasped. That was no trash food. That was food from the market stalls, food she could never afford. "You will weaken yourself," she whispered, her eyes narrowing. Suspicion burned there. "Why do you do this?" "No one helps my kind. No one helps us." The human crouched, holding the fruit toward the boy. His voice was low, steady. "Because I remember being hungry too." The boy grabbed the fruit with trembling fingers, biting into it quickly. Juice dripped down his chin and he laughed. A sound so pure it startled even his mother. She hadn't heard him laugh like that in months. For a moment the alley seemed brighter, but whispers stirred around them. In the shadows of the broken stalls, merchants and beggars watched. Some sneered. "A human wasting food on trash," one muttered. Another spat on the ground. "Better to step on them than feed them." The mother's ears twitched. She heard them. Fear tightened her chest. She pulled the child close again. "You must leave," she told the man firmly. "If they see you give us food again, they will punish you." "They will punish us." The man looked around, his sharp eyes catching the figures watching. He knew she was right. Still, he stood his ground. "Then let them see," he said. Cruelty should not be the law of this place. Her heart beat fast. His words carried weight, but they were dangerous. No one defied the rules of the market. Those who tried disappeared. The boy coughed suddenly, clutching his chest. His body was too weak to handle too much at once. The mother panicked, holding him upright. She rubbed his back, whispering fast, desperate words. "Stay with me, little one, stay with me." The human moved quickly. He opened his canteen and poured a little water into his hand. He held it to the boy's lips. "Slowly. Drink slowly." The boy sipped, then coughed again, then sipped once more. Slowly, his breathing eased. His small hand reached up and touched the man's rough fingers. His lips formed a tiny word. "Thank you." The man froze, his throat tightening. He had heard those words before, from his own daughter years ago, before hunger had taken her away. The memory struck him like a knife. The mother saw the pain flash in his eyes, but she did not ask. She only whispered again, "You must go. You are kind, but kindness kills in this place." Before he could answer, loud laughter echoed from the street. A group of alien thugs appeared, tall and armored with crude weapons. Their leader had sharp tusks and glowing tattoos across his arms. "Well, well," the leader sneered, stepping into the alley. "What do we have here? A rat mother, her starving brat, and—" He pointed his club toward the human. "A fool feeding them." The boy whimpered, hiding his face in his mother's chest. She held him tight, her whole body shaking. The human rose slowly to his full height, his eyes locked on the thugs, unflinching. He had fought men like these before in other places, other worlds. He knew their type, bullies who grew fat on fear. The thug leader grinned. "Food is money, and you give it to trash? Maybe we should take it from you. Maybe we should teach you how things work here." The merchants watching from afar turned away. No one would step in. No one ever did. The mother whispered urgently to the man, "Please, leave us, they will hurt you." "They will hurt him." The man did not move. His hand tightened into a fist at his side. "I will not walk away." The thugs closed in, their weapons gleaming under the neon glow. The mother's breath caught in her throat. Her child whimpered again and she rocked him, whispering prayers. The human stood tall, his shadow stretching long in the alley. His eyes were cold now, sharp like steel. If they wanted to fight, they would find out this human was no easy prey. And for the first time in her life, the alien mother felt that maybe, just maybe, someone would fight for her. The thugs left the alley that night, but not in silence. Their threat still echoed in the mother's mind long after they disappeared into the neon glow of the market. She clutched her child tight, her body trembling as if the danger still stood in front of her. The human man had not moved even when the thugs mocked him. His steady stare had kept them from striking, for now. But she knew they would be back. The market was never truly quiet. Voices and footsteps filled the air, mixed with the metallic smell of oil and the sour stench of old food. Merchants shouted about their goods. Neon signs buzzed overhead and creatures from a dozen worlds walked between stalls. Yet under that noise, whispers began to spread like smoke. "Did you see him?" one merchant asked another. "A human," the other replied. "Feeding trash like them?" "Madness," the first sneered. "Doesn't he know kindness is weakness here?" Others joined the talk. Some laughed, shaking their heads. Some spat on the ground, disgusted that anyone would waste food on a beggar mother. But a few voices were softer, uncertain. "Strange," one alien muttered. He had no fear, not even when the gang came. The mother heard the whispers as she carried her child out of the alley. Her heart raced. She wanted to disappear into the shadows, hide forever where no one could see her. But the man walked beside her, steady and calm, as if the stairs meant nothing. "You should not have done that," she told him, her voice low. "You should not have given us food where all could see." Now they talk. Talking leads to danger. The man looked at her, his expression unreadable. "Let them talk," he said. "Let them see," she shook her head. He did not understand. In this city, stories could kill faster than blades. Her child leaned against her shoulder, his face soft with sleep. His belly was not full, but it was not empty either. For him, even a little food was enough to bring rest. She kissed his forehead, her throat tight. She wanted to thank the man again, but the words caught. Gratitude felt dangerous too. As they walked through the market, more eyes followed. The glow of neon lights flashed across their faces, drawing attention. The human's tall frame stood out among the aliens. He could not blend in, even if he wished. At a stall, a merchant sneered loudly. "Hey, human! Share some of that bread with me too, or will you only feed the rats?" His friends laughed. The man ignored them, but the mother pulled her child closer, her steps quickening. She whispered harshly, "Do not answer them. Please. They will not stop until they hurt us." The man's jaw tightened, but he nodded. They reached the edge of the market, where the lights grew dimmer and the shadows heavier. Here the poor lived, huddled in broken shelters made of scraps. Smoke rose from fires burning in metal drums. Children coughed in the cold air. Here, too, the whispers spread. The poor looked at the human with wide eyes. They had never seen someone stand against the thugs. They had never seen someone share food without asking for something in return. For the first time in years, they whispered words not of hate but of wonder. "Did you hear? A human gave bread to a starving boy. They say he faced the gang and did not bow. Why? Why would anyone risk that?" The mother listened in silence, her fear twisting with something new. Confusion. She had lived too long in this place to believe in kindness. Yet here was proof in front of her, walking beside her. They stopped outside her small shelter, a broken wall of stone and rusted metal sheets. It was barely enough to block the wind. Inside, a dirty blanket lay on the ground. It was all she had to protect her child at night. She turned to the man, her voice sharp. "You cannot stay. If they know where you are, they will come. They will destroy everything." The man looked at the shelter, then at the child asleep in her arms. His eyes softened, but his words were firm. "Then they will come for me, not for you. I have faced worse," she clenched her teeth. His calmness infuriated her, but it also unsettled her heart. Why would a stranger care so much? Why would a human risk his own life for an alien mother and child he did not know? The wind howled between the broken walls. The boy stirred in his sleep, whimpering softly. The mother rocked him, whispering lullabies. The man sat down near the entrance of the shelter, his back against the wall, his eyes scanning the shadows. In the distance, laughter rose again. The thugs were drinking, boasting about how they would deal with the human soon. The whispers of the market had reached them too, and their pride would not allow such defiance to go unpunished. The mother heard the sound and shivered. She whispered to herself, "It will come. Trouble always comes." But the human only looked at the sky above, a faint line of stars showing through the polluted clouds. His voice was quiet but steady. "Let it come." The whispers of the market had begun, and there was no turning back. The next day, the market was even louder. Voices rose, stalls opened, and the neon lights flickered as if mocking the poor below. But under the noise, tension crawled like poison through the streets. The whispers of the humans' kindness had spread everywhere. Some called it foolish, some called it brave, and some, especially the gangs, called it an insult. The alien mother kept her child close that morning. She tried to search for scraps again, though the boy still felt weak. She warned him not to speak too loudly, not to laugh, not to draw attention. But the child, with a little food in his belly, smiled more easily now. His innocence frightened her. In a place like this, hope was dangerous. The human walked with them, carrying his small pack. He looked like a traveler who had seen too many worlds, but his steps were steady. The mother kept telling him to go, to leave before it was too late. He only answered, "Not yet." And then the thugs returned. They came when the sun dipped behind the towers, when the market's alleys were crowded and shadows grew long. Their leader, the one with glowing tattoos, marched at the front with his tusks shining in the neon glow. Behind him, 5 more carried crude weapons, metal clubs, knives, and jagged pipes. The crowd parted silent. No one dared interfere. All eyes turned to the narrow alley where the human, the mother, and the child stood. "There he is," the leader growled, pointing. "The hero. The fool who thinks he can feed rats?" The boy whimpered and hid behind his mother's leg. She stood trembling, her arms tight around him. Her heart screamed at her to run, but there was nowhere to go. The human stepped forward. His face was calm, his eyes sharp. He did not look afraid. "You should have left, stranger," the leader said, his grin wide. "Now you'll learn what happens when someone breaks our rules." He swung his club onto his shoulder, the metal ringing. The gang circled, blocking all escape. The mother whispered fast, her voice breaking, "Please, just go with them, please, they might let you live." "Do not fight." The human shook his head slightly. "They will not let me live." "Or you," the leader laughed. "You think you can protect them? 1 against 6? The human did not answer. He only shifted his stance, his boots pressing firmly into the ground. His fists rose slowly, ready. The crowd leaned closer, waiting. No one dared breathe too loud. The first thug charged, swinging his pipe high. The human stepped aside, fast as lightning. His fist struck the thug's stomach, then his elbow cracked against the thug's jaw. The man crumpled with a groan. Gasps rippled through the market. The second thug rushed in, swinging a knife. The human caught his wrist, twisted hard, and the blade clattered to the ground. With one swift move, he kicked the thug's legs out from under him. The leader's grin faded. "Don't just stand there. Kill him!" The rest attacked at once. Clubs slammed down, knives flashed, fists swung. The human moved like a storm, blocking, dodging, striking. He was not bigger than them, not stronger, but he was faster, sharper, more controlled. Years of hardship had taught him to fight like survival itself depended on it. The mother clutched her child, eyes wide. She had never seen such defiance, such fire in one person. For the first time, she believed they might live through this. But the fight was not without cost. A club struck the human's side, forcing him back with a grunt. A blade sliced his arm, drawing blood. The crowd gasped again, waiting for him to fall. Instead, he pushed forward. He grabbed the thug with the blade, slamming his head against the alley wall. The man collapsed, moaning. Another thug swung low, but the human kicked him hard in the chest, sending him crashing into a pile of crates. Now only the leader remained standing tall. His glowing tattoos pulsed as he snarled. He raised his heavy club, thicker and sharper than the others. "Enough games," he roared. "I'll break you in 2, he charged, swinging with brutal strength. The human barely ducked, the club smashing into the wall behind him, sparks flying. With speed born of desperation, the human drove his fist into the leader's ribs again and again. The leader staggered, but his tusks gleamed as he swung again. This time, the human caught the club with both hands. Muscles strained, blood dripped from his arm, but he held it firm. With a sharp twist, he yanked it free, then swung it back at the leader. The club cracked against the thug's jaw, sending him sprawling onto the ground. The alley fell silent. The gang groaned where they lay, beaten and broken. The leader coughed blood, his tattoos dimming. The human dropped the club, his chest heaving. His eyes swept over the crowd, daring anyone else to step forward. None did. The mother's legs shook. She could not believe what she had seen. No one ever fought the thugs. No one ever won. Yet this human alone had stood and protected them. Her child tugged at her sleeve, whispering softly, "Mother, he saved us." She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her face. "Yes, my son. He saved us." But in her heart she knew it was not over. The thugs would not forgive this humiliation. They would return with more. And yet, as she looked at the human standing strong despite his wounds, she felt something she had not felt in years. Hope. The market grew quiet after the fight, but the quiet was not peace. It was fear. The beaten thugs were carried away by their friends, swearing revenge with every breath. The crowd that had watched quickly scattered, not wanting to be caught in the storm that would surely follow. The alien mother stood frozen, her child clinging to her torn clothes. She wanted to run, to vanish into the shadows, but her legs would not move. Her eyes remained locked on the human who had stood against 6 armed men and had not fallen. Blood ran down his arm, and his side was bruised, but he stood tall, breathing hard but steady. His eyes turned to her, softer now. "It's not safe here anymore," he said quietly. "Come with me." Her lips parted, but no words came out. No one had ever said those words to her. No one had ever offered safety. She wanted to refuse. She wanted to protect her child by hiding, as she always had. But when her boy looked up at the man with eyes full of trust, she found herself nodding. The man led them away from the crowded alleys, through narrow streets where the neon lights dimmed and the noise faded. They walked for a long time, the mother holding her boy close, the human carrying his small pack in silence. Finally, they reached the edge of the city where the towers ended and the shadows grew thicker. There, hidden behind old walls and broken machines, stood a small shelter. Its roof was patched with metal sheets, its door crooked, but smoke drifted softly from a chimney. It was not much, but it was more than she had ever known. The man pushed the door open. Inside, a small fire burned in a barrel, giving off faint warmth. A blanket lay folded in the corner, and a few boxes held supplies: bread, dried fruit, water. The air was heavy with smoke and dust, but compared to the streets it felt like another world. "Rest here," the man said, placing his pack down. "No one will find you tonight." The mother hesitated at the door, her arms tightening around her boy. Her eyes darted around the room, suspicious, uncertain. She had been tricked before. She had been promised safety before. But her child tugged at her sleeve, whispering, "Please, mother, I'm warm here." She stepped inside. The man moved quietly, taking out food from one of the boxes. He handed a small piece of bread to the boy, who smiled and ate slowly, his face glowing in the firelight. The mother sat close to him, her eyes never leaving the human. "You should not risk yourself for us," she said finally. Her voice was sharp, but it shook. "The thugs will not stop. They will return stronger." The man sat down across from her, his face lit by the fire. "I know," he said simply. "Then why?" she asked, her voice rising. "Why help me?" "Why help him? We are nothing to you." The man's eyes lowered for a moment, as if looking back into a memory. His voice grew quiet. "Because once I had a daughter. She starved before my eyes. I could not save her. Not then, not ever. But I can save him." His gaze lifted to the boy, steady and sure. The mother's breath caught. She had expected excuses, lies, maybe pity, but his words were raw, heavy with truth. For the first time she saw not just a stranger, but a man carrying a wound as deep as her own. Her eyes softened, though her fear did not vanish. She whispered, "You are a fool." "Maybe," he said. The boy finished his bread and leaned against his mother, his small body finally relaxed. His breathing slowed, and soon he was asleep in her arms. She brushed his hair gently, her throat tight. The fire crackled softly, filling the silence. For the first time in many months, the mother felt warmth not only on her skin but in her heart. It frightened her. Safety was not meant for her kind. Safety never lasted. Yet as she looked at the human sitting watchful by the door, she realized something she had never believed before. She was not alone. Hours passed. The boy slept soundly, the mother dozing beside him. But the human did not sleep. His eyes stayed fixed on the shadows outside, listening to every sound of the night. He knew the thugs were not finished. He knew whispers would turn into plans and plans into violence. But he also knew he would not run. Not this time. When the mother stirred awake, she found him still sitting, still watching. She asked softly, almost against her will, "Why do you not sleep?" He answered without looking at her, "Because someone has to keep guard." She pulled her child closer, her heart tightening. No one had ever said such words for her. No one had ever cared enough to watch while she slept. The shelter creaked in the wind, but inside the warmth of the fire held steady, and in that moment, Despite the danger waiting outside, the alien mother felt something she had not felt in years. For one night, she and her child were safe. The shelter was quiet, broken only by the crackle of the fire and the soft breathing of the alien child asleep in his mother's arms. Outside, the city murmured in the distance, shouts, engines, and the echo of laughter from drunks and gangs. But inside the crooked walls there was a strange peace. The mother sat with her back against the wall, watching the human. He had not moved from his spot by the door. His eyes stayed sharp, scanning every sound from the shadows. The firelight caught the blood still dried on his arm, the bruises spreading across his side. He was hurt, but he acted as if pain meant nothing. She finally whispered, "Why do you do this? You could leave. You should leave. Yet you stay." The man did not answer right away. His gaze stayed fixed on the door as though expecting enemies at any moment. Then slowly he spoke. "I once lived on a world much like this. Rich towers above, hungry poor below. My people. We were forgotten. My wife, my daughter, and I had little. We fought to survive." His voice grew heavy, each word pressed down by memory. One year the harvest failed. The markets closed. Prices rose. The powerful kept everything for themselves. The rest of us starved. The mother felt her breath catch. The story sounded too familiar, as if it was her own told through another's mouth. He continued, his voice low. "I tried everything. I begged, I stole, I fought. But there was never enough. My daughter, she was smaller than your boy. She grew weaker each day. I told her she would live. I told her tomorrow would be better. But one morning she did not wake." The firelight flickered across his face, showing the weight of the grief still carved into him. His eyes glistened, though no tears fell. The mother's arms tightened around her son. She whispered, "I am sorry." The man shook his head. "Sorry will not bring her back. But it taught me something. I swore that no child, no matter the world, would starve in front of me again. If I can give bread, I will give it. If I can fight, I will fight, even if it kills me." Silence filled the shelter. The mother could not look away from him. His words carried no lies, only scars. She felt her throat tighten. For years she had believed kindness was gone, burned away by cruelty and hunger. Yet here was proof that kindness still lived, even if born from pain. Her son stirred in his sleep, mumbling softly. She stroked his hair, whispering to calm him. Then she looked back at the man. "You speak as if death means nothing to you." He gave a faint, bitter smile. "It means less to me than letting another child suffer." The mother lowered her eyes. She felt something strange inside her chest, fear, yes, but also something else. A warmth she had not known for years. Trust. It frightened her more than the gangs. But outside, danger brewed. In the city's darker alleys, the beaten thugs had returned to their leader's den. Their bruises still fresh, they shouted about revenge. The leader with glowing tattoos slammed his fist against a table, his tusks gleaming with rage. "A human humiliated us in front of the market," he growled. "If word spreads, others will stop fearing us. That cannot happen. Tomorrow we end him. We end the rat mother. We burn them both as a lesson." The gang cheered, lifting weapons, their voices filled with hatred. Plans were made. More thugs would join. They would return stronger, more brutal. Back in the shelter, the mother's instincts warned her. She pressed her son closer, whispering, "They will come again." The man nodded. "Yes, they will," her voice cracked. "Then you must leave us. You have done enough. Please go before it is too late. They will kill you if you stay." He looked at her, his gaze firm. "If I leave, they will kill you and your boy. My fight is here now." She shook her head violently, tears stinging her eyes. "Why would you throw your life away for strangers?" "Because," he said softly, "you are not strangers anymore." The mother's lips trembled. She had no answer. The boy shifted in her arms, opening his sleepy eyes. He looked at the man through the firelight and whispered weakly, "Will you stay with us?" The man's eyes softened. He leaned forward slightly. "Yes, little one, I will stay." The boy smiled faintly and drifted back to sleep. The mother pressed her forehead against her son's, hiding her tears. The human's promise felt dangerous, reckless, impossible, yet it gave her something she had lost long ago. A spark of belief. Outside, the city prepared its cruelty. Inside the shelter, 3 lives shared the same fragile firelight. And for the first time in years, the alien mother dared to hope. The night passed slowly, heavy with silence. The fire burned low, throwing shadows across the walls of the crooked shelter. The alien mother did not sleep, though her son rested peacefully in her arms. Her eyes kept drifting toward the human sitting near the door, his figure like a stone, still, strong, waiting. When the first faint light of morning slipped through the cracks, the city awoke. Stalls clattered open, voices rose, and footsteps filled the streets again. But under the noise, something darker moved. The gangs were gathering. The mother's heart pounded as she heard them approach. Boots striking hard against the ground, weapons clanging, voices filled with anger. The boy stirred awake, sensing her fear. She hugged him close, whispering, "Stay quiet, little one. Stay behind me." The human stood, rolling his shoulders as if readying himself for battle. His bruises still ached, his cuts still bled, but his eyes were sharp as steel. He opened the crooked door, stepping into the morning light. The thugs filled the street more than before. At least a dozen this time, their weapons flashing in the neon glow of the city signs. At their front stood the leader with glowing tattoos, his tusks sharp, his eyes burning with rage. "There he is," the leader shouted, pointing at the human. "The fool who dared to humiliate us. Today we break him. Today we remind everyone what happens when you cross us." The crowd gathered again, pulled by fear and curiosity. Merchants, beggars, children peered from corners. Whispers spread like fire. Would the human survive this time? The mother clutched her child tighter, tears filling her eyes. She wanted to scream at the man to run, but her voice would not come. The human stepped forward, standing alone before the gang. He spoke calmly, his voice carrying through the alley. "You call yourself strong because you prey on the weak. But strength is not cruelty. Strength is standing for those who cannot." The leader roared with laughter. "Big words for a dead man." He raised his club and the thugs surged forward. The human moved like lightning. His fists struck, his boots kicked, his body flowed with sharp precision. Each thug that came close was thrown down or sent stumbling back. The crowd gasped at his speed, his fury, his unbroken will. But there were too many. A blade cut his shoulder, a club slammed his back. He staggered but did not fall. His eyes burned with the fire of memory, his lost daughter, his vow, the boy behind him who must not starve. The leader charged, swinging his heavy club. The human caught it with both hands, twisting hard. The wood cracked, splintering. He drove his elbow into the leader's ribs, then his fist into his jaw. The leader stumbled, tusks dripping blood. Still the gang pressed. The mother cried out, her voice raw. "Stop, please stop." Her boy clung to her, trembling. And then something unexpected happened. From the crowd, a voice shouted, "Enough!" Everyone turned. It was one of the beggars from the lower streets, a thin alien with hollow eyes. He stepped forward, shaking but determined. "We are tired of fear. Tired of your cruelty," another voice joined, then another. Soon several of the poor stepped forward, picking up stones, pipes, even broken wood. Their eyes turned not on the human, but on the thugs. The leader snarled, "Stay back or you'll share his fate." But the poor did not move back. They stepped closer, their courage rising. For years they had been silent. For years they had bowed their heads. But now, seeing the human fight for someone who was not even his own kind, they felt something awaken inside them. Hope. The thugs looked around, their sneers fading. They were outnumbered now, not by weapons, but by will. The crowd's eyes no longer held fear, but fire. The leader spat blood, glaring at the human. "This is not over," he growled. He signaled to his men, and slowly, one by one, they pulled back, disappearing into the alleys. The market was silent for a long moment. Then slowly, whispers turned into cheers. The poor lifted their voices not in fear, but in triumph. The mother sank to her knees, holding her child tightly. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they were not only of fear. She looked at the human, battered and bleeding, but still standing. "You changed them," she whispered. The man shook his head, breathing hard. "No, they changed themselves. They only needed a reason." The boy ran forward, throwing his arms around the man's waist. "You stayed," he whispered. "You promised, and you stayed." The human placed a hand on the boy's head, his chest heavy but warm. For the first time in years, he felt something he thought he had lost forever, a chance for a new beginning. The crowd parted as the mother stepped forward, her eyes meeting his. Her voice shook, but her words were clear. "You are not alone anymore." And for the first time in the cruel city, kindness had not been crushed, it had grown.